Welcome to I Am Well podcast. I am your host, Gemma, a nutritionist and mindset coach passionate about all things health and wellness. I'm going to take you on a journey to discovering what health means for you and how to create a life you love living. I'm on a mission to uplift those who feel overwhelmed with what it means to be healthy, reminding you, my listeners, that nutrition is only one aspect of health, and empower you to live your best life on your terms. Let's get to it. Welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Today I have Gabi back on with me, and our last topic was very full on.
Yes.
Our last topic we went through quite a lot. But we're going to kind of get down to the nitty gritty more so of stress, like the topic really around stress, because our last chat, it was about really your journey and everything that you've gone through on your journey, which was amazing. And it really taught us all so much about how you healed, and hearing a healing story from someone else is so powerful because it really teaches you like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it, like that kind of thing. But yeah, today I really wanted to get into the nitty gritty of stress, because I do think that it affects everything. I can teach anyone how to have the best, most healthiest diet. I can give them a diet plan, give them a routine, but if they can't get their stress under control, I know for a fact that will have an effect on their blood glucose levels, which then has an effect on them not being able to lose weight, not being able to be insulin sensitive, like all the things. So it's detrimental to their health. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day how well your diet is if you can't keep your stress under control. That's where the biggest impact is. So I just know you have so much knowledge around this. So thank you for coming on, Gabi.
Thank you for having me. I love that we could do this in person.
I know.
Too. I love this. Like sitting on the couch together. This is
so
awesome.
Good. We have our wellness retreat tomorrow. So yes, Gabi has come over to my house. We have prepped for the wellness retreat. We've done all the things. We're ready to go, feeling good.
Yeah.
And then we're like, let's whip out a podcast app.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we got the time. No, it is. And it's such an important topic too. Like you said, you could have so many things, have a hand on so many things, but in the end, stress just impacts us all in various ways. And like, I just wish that we could have this magic wand and just make the stress disappear.
Yeah.
But we can't. And I think now it's more prevalent than ever in our society, because there are just so many demands, the rising cost of living, like that's already causing stress. And I feel like for many people, your listeners that are listening as well, like there are so many things that are out of their control. And I think that's the hardest thing. And that's what can really escalate that stress, is because they really, there are things that are out of their control, and you just got to try and control the things that you can the best way that you can.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I thought I'd just sort of start off just by looking at our nervous system, which is, super, super important. It controls so much of our body. And when you look at your nervous system, you've pretty much got these three entities. So you've got the sympathetic state, and that's where you go into your fight or flight response. So that's really that's your stress response.
Yeah.
Then you've got your parasympathetic, that's like your rest and digest. So that's essentially where we want to get to. We really want to find that balance, get to that homeostasis. That's essentially, that's what our bodies are designed to do. Our bodies aren't designed to be in this stress response for prolonged periods of time. But there are events where we should have some sort of stress and some positive stress. And I'll talk a little bit about that after. And then you've got your enteric nervous system. So that's like where your digestion occurs.
So is the goal to be in the parasympathetic?
Yes, but
more
then I guess also, sometimes when you can be in that parasympathetic state, sometimes we can go too far, and that's where we sort of can go into a little bit of like isolation or depression and things like that, where you can, so I guess it's finding that balance, and that's what homeostasis is. It's that balance.
It's the balance.
It's that balance, so that if you are going into this sympathetic state and you are feeling stressed, you know, for whatever reason, bringing yourself back, finding that balance. And it is constant work. It is, it's a constant, which, like anything, I guess, you know, it's constant work.
Do you think there is a way to know that you're in balance? Like, is there a way to like check in? Like, do you reckon? Like,
I think knowing your body, and that's something that I'm going to talk about shortly, is just really noticing the symptoms. And that's part of, like, I guess, the stress management steps. But in regards to your nervous system and what impacts your nervous system, like, there are so many different things that do. But, you know, one that I actually am really passionate about talking about is dysfunctional breathing patterns. And a lot of people will be breathing from their chest, like chest breathing, and it can dysregulate your nervous system because you can actually be increasing your heart rate, you know, increasing your blood pressure, and you're not even aware of it. You know how
I was about to say, like, how,
you're not even aware. So it's coming back to, so really, you know, bringing yourself back down into that sort of grounded state and getting yourself back into that parasympathetic nervous system. It's just going back to that diaphragmatic breathing. So really, and to know that you are doing that, essentially, like, even just putting your hands on your abdomen, taking a deep breath in and actually watching it expand. And then as you breathe out, it should contract back in. So that's when you know that you're actually using diaphragmatic breathing compared to chest breathing.
I'm like doing it right now, and already I feel more relaxed.
Yeah, that's it. And that's a really good indicator. So having your hands on your chest, not your chest, having your hands on your abdomen is a really good indicator that you're in that diaphragmatic breathing. So some of the other ones, and you know I'm really passionate about this, environmental toxins. So environmental toxins can really put stress on your body. And again, you may not even be aware of it until you start to look deeper into, okay, why am I having these hormonal imbalances? You know, why am I having this reoccurring, you know, illnesses or poor immune system? Why am I having trouble conceiving? This could be part of the reason. So a lot of the things that we're exposed to, things that we buy off the shelf that we use in our homes, household cleaners, you know, body washes, lotions, makeup, deodorants, perfumes, all the things, they can actually be putting stress on your body physically. And you may not be aware of it. And you might be like, I'm not stressed, I'm fine. Like, I love my life, I'm all good. But they're actually putting stress on your body. And you're not even aware. One thing that you're passionate about, gut health. So gut health, again, another thing that causes stress on your body, causes that dysregulation in your nervous system. Sleep, so lack of sleep disturbances, and we've spoken about that lately with
mums,
young, toddlers.
Every mum will know about that.
That's right. So that can be putting stress on your body as well. And then obviously like substances. So if you're looking, you know, like excessive amounts of caffeine or alcohol or, you know, other substances, will be causing stress.
So when you say like we have too much of this and it's putting it into a dysregulation, it means like you're leaning into too much of one system.
Yes.
Like, are we leaning into too much of the...
You're going into a fight or flight mode. Your body is going into fight or flight mode. And I'm going to but I'm going to refer to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I absolutely love. Absolutely love his books. I'm going to get on to that new one that you had told me about. But he really says, like, when you're looking at dysregulation of your nervous system and looking at stress, you need to look at three particular areas. So the physical stress, the chemical stress, and the emotional stress. And he says that, you know, even if you can really knock over and work on 2 out of the 3, you'll already start to feel a huge shift, like in your whole world, in your body, just all over. So, you know, looking at physical stress. So like what is actually physically putting stress on your body? Chemicals, again, that goes back to like the environmental toxins and other things that you might need to look further into. But then there's that emotional stress, and that could be like trauma that you've gone through, could be grief, could be lots of different factors. And I think that, and even he says that's probably the area that a lot of people sort of push under the rug or sort of like, oh no, I'm okay in that. Like it's, you know, the physical things on my body. Maybe I have a really taxing job, you know, or the things that I'm using in my home, or the things that I'm digesting, you know, the foods that I'm eating and consuming. Like, they're probably the more obvious things to go, okay, I can fix that. I can take that out. I can change that. I can stop doing this. I can do more of this. But it's that emotional stress that sometimes we sort of overlook.
Yeah, because one, it's too scary to look at.
Yeah.
But two, like, it could be, do you think the generational trauma too, that we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
Yes. And I think it's a bit more abstract, you know, it's not so literal.
Complex. Yeah.
It's not so literal. Like, I can physically remove the, you know, excess cans of Coke or whatever it is that I'm having,
Yes.
you know, I can physically, not push my body so much at the gym, you know, and do some different sort of exercises instead. But when you're looking at emotional stress, it's more that mind.
So complex,
it's,
yeah. And it's very easy, as you said, to look at what foods I'm eating and stuff like that in a way than it is to understand what the hell your emotions are doing.
That's exactly right. So, and it's a lengthy process, but I guess from what we said before, how do you know? Like, how do you know? How do you know when you're starting to feel stress? It goes back to the symptoms. So what are you actually feeling in your body? So when I talk to, you know, friends, family, you know, clients that want to come and learn a little bit more at our wellness retreats, I sort of guide them through a step process. So the first step is, okay, so what are the symptoms that you're feeling, like physically? So what are you physically feeling when you think you are stressed? So for me, it might be, okay, I might be sort of clenching my fists. I might be, you know, clenching my jaw. My shoulders might be rising. I might feel tension. My heart rate might increase, you know, and I guess you really only know if you're testing, you know, your heart rate. You might feel sweaty in the hands. You might be raising your voice because of the scenario or the experience that's causing the stress. I'm only saying that because I'm thinking of, like, my kids.
Yes.
And, like, if they're fighting with each other and, like, I will be entering that fight or flight, you know.
That's one thing I will admit that I tend to struggle with. Like, I know my kids, they're escalating and they're fighting and stuff, and I'm still then focusing, like, I'm saying voices in my head, like, remember to breathe, remember to calm them down, get on their level, talk to them, and all of that's going through, but I can still feel my body starting to get more stressed. Even though I'm saying those things and even though I'm doing the calming and the right things, I can still feel my body feeling stressed.
That's right. And because, you know, you might have all these tools and that's amazing, but, like, circumstances change throughout the day, you know, and sometimes you can't plan for that event or that moment that is going to cause the stress. But I guess having those tools to support you will help you get back to homeostasis quicker. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you're not in this prolonged stress response.
Yeah.
So I'll rewind and we'll go back a little bit through a little bit more of the science of how to explain it, because I also, among with all the things that I do, I also facilitate a social emotional program, which I love. And we teach children a little bit about, you know, emotions and how to understand their emotions. And I guess when you're going into that stress response as well. So essentially, when you're entering fight or flight, because it's a common term that we hear that phrase a lot. Oh, you're in fight or flight. Like, what does it actually mean? So it's when your body is perceiving a threat. Before you consciously or I guess logically can analyze what's happening, it's like your body has that intuitive reaction because they're perceiving some sort of threat. Now, when you go back to, like, the primal days, like, that threat might have been, like, you know, a big animal coming to attack you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the threat. Or someone trying to, you know, hurt your family or something like that, you know, take your home, take your things, your belongings. Now, to get into that stress response, it can be something as simple as getting stuck in traffic.
Yes.
You know, it can be simple as, you know, dealing with an argument with your children.
Kids won't get dressed for school.
That's right. It could be getting
running late.
That's it, running late, getting an email from a boss that you don't particularly like. Anything, you know, like the you know. So it can be something quite minor, but that can set us into that stress response. That can, because we're already perceiving some sort of threat.
Yeah.
So when we enter this stress response, what's happening in our body is, so I'll go through a little bit of science now.
Yeah.
You've got your amygdala. So your amygdala is like your emotional brain.
Yes.
And we use like the analogy of like the protector, like your guard dog, your protector. That's there to protect you. That's your emotion. It wants you to be safe. You know, it always wants you to feel safe and secure and protected. So essentially, then you've got your prefrontal cortex. And your prefrontal cortex is like your counselor. This is where you make all your logical, wise decisions, like a wise owl.
Yeah.
When your body is entering fight or flight, this stress response, when it perceives some sort of threat of danger, your wise, logical counselor, the prefrontal cortex, the light turns off. It's like it's lights out. And this protector, this guard dog, comes out.
Yeah.
And that's when sometimes you can make irrational decisions because it comes based from emotion rather than from logic.
That makes so much sense when you put it like that.
That's right. So sometimes, and you know how we were actually talking about this before, like sometimes like you might, you know, yell out something to the kids, you know, I want you to stop or whatever it might be. And then after you're like, oh wait, like
why did I do that?
Yeah, why did I do that? It's because this sort of emotional brain is taking over and you're just making these sort of decisions without logically thinking about, is it that the right one?
Yeah.
And that's where the tools come in, the stress response tools, all like those holistic practices like the breath work and, you know, affirmations or walking away, like having these different strategies really help, because it can help you make a more conscious decision and help get you back to that homeostasis.
Okay. So can we go into those tools?
Yes.
Or do you want to say something? I was like, oh, I want to know.
Let's go into those tools. So you know that I'm very passionate about using essential oils, obviously to help with removing a lot of everyday toxins as well, simplifying my home. You know, I do a lot of DIYs. I love all that. But I actually started using essential oils also to help with my emotions, to support my hormones, to support lots of things, but to also help my emotions because I had learnt a lot about the limbic system and your sense of smell and just the power of your sense of smell. So essentially when you smell something, that is triggering your olfactory nerve, which is up like within your limbic system. And your limbic system has to do with like your amygdala, which is your emotional brain.
Okay, yep.
And your limbic system also has to do with your hippocampus, which is like your memory chest. So that's where all your memories are stored. So essentially when you are smelling something, it goes up, triggers this olfactory nerve, activates this limbic system, and it connects straight to your amygdala and your hippocampus. So straight to your emotions and to your memories. So I say to people, you know, have you ever like smelt something and it reminds you of someone or something? Like I know like sometimes I've smelt something and it reminds me of like my nonna's cooking.
I sometimes smell like if I don't know, this is a bad example, but I go into like Savers, like the discount shops.
Yeah.
And I'll smell like my grandma.
Yes.
Like does anyone else have that?
Yes. Or like when you walk past like a gentleman and it's got like a strong cologne and you're like, oh, that reminds me of like my ex-boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It actually is scientifically proven. Like it actually will activate those memories, but it will also activate those emotions. So then you might get that disgust of that ex-boyfriend, or that like nostalgic feeling of like your grandma's cooking, or like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love using essential oils as a tool as well because it can really help balance your emotions.
So if you using them though, like how do you use them? Do you use them on the regular to prevent these emotional outbreaks, or do you use them on the emotional outbreaks?
No, I think it's a combination of both. So I know in the moment, like, or around that time, like if I'm feeling stressed because, you know, the kids are having an argument and I've tried to, you know, sort it out and everything, and I'm already feeling tense and I know that, and you know, because I'm clenching my fists, or like, you know, my shoulders are raised. That's a big telltale. It's my shoulders. Yeah. I always know because I carry my tension around my shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and I'm raising my voice. So I will literally grab my oil, and I love my like frankincense. Like frankincense is the ultimate grounding oil. There's heaps of others, but I love frankincense. I'll literally put a few drops in the palm of my hand, rub my hands together, cup my nose, and I call this a scent tent, and just breathe in, like 3 slow breaths, and do the diaphragmatic breaths. Deep breaths where your abdomen's expanding, and then as you breathe out, it's coming back in, and just
Yeah.
take 3 slow breaths. And then that is triggering that limbic system going up to the amygdala. It's just giving me that moment of calm. And then it's activating my prefrontal cortex again so that I can make a logical decision moving forward.
Right.
Yeah. So that is just one tool, but I was just because we were on the science train, I thought that we would like go into
I
a little
love
bit
learning the science behind it, because then it just reiterates that, okay, you're not just going out and grabbing some essential oils and smelling them for the sake of smelling them.
That's
Like,
right.
it's actually doing something. It is actually, as you said, going into the olfactory.
Yeah, it solidifies the purpose of it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you just use essential oils. It's when you're smelling, I guess, anything, you know, if there's something, if
it makes sense.
If there's a calming scent, it could be a flower that you have in the garden or something like that, that you know just can help ground you. Use it, breathe it in, you know, obviously be conscious of what you're breathing in, but you know. So essentially, like, our goal is to get out of that stress response.
Yes.
So our goal is to put that wise counselor back on so that we can make the most logical decisions moving forward and then get ourselves back to homeostasis. So obviously the first step is identifying your symptoms. So physically, how are you physically feeling? But also, like, what is the dialogue in your head? Like, what are you saying right now?
I think it's the dialogue in my head.
Yes.
Definitely. Because I'm like, what are my symptoms? I reckon my whole body definitely just feels, I think I feel in my chest, actually. You know, that's where I feel it. I reckon I feel tense in my chest, which sounds weird, but it's a tension in there.
Yeah.
And then I have dialogue going.
Yeah.
And it's all like, I reckon all wishy-washy. Like, there'll be some that'll be like, you know, anger, but then some that'll be like, you can't do this. What are you doing? Calm down. And the more you tell yourself to calm down, the more it gets worse.
Yeah. And so you're already putting stress on your body.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it could be a combination of the physical stress. It could also be like, are you moving around faster? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
definitely. I reckon I'll like jump to cleaning.
Yes.
I'll just go and clean because I'll do it in anger.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. You want to keep busy. It's like you want to like
Yeah.
distract yourself from this thing that's caused you to feel stressed.
Yeah.
You know, or caused you to feel a bit frustrated or angry, or you know.
Yeah.
Not that I always want to associate stress with anger, because that's not it. You know,
Yeah.
stress can be
It can be
a
anything.
but you know, I guess my season of life with kids, it's like just those like arguments and that, and so I know that I'm feeling stressed just trying to navigate toddler life. And
Yeah, because they're very emotional too. They've
Absolutely.
got very heightened emotions. So
and it's about co-regulating with them.
Yeah.
You know, you need to regulate yourself in order to help them regulate their emotions. It's that
100%.
co-regulation.
That is like, the biggest thing, if anything, out of everything you said. I'm like, because you just can't help them if you can't help yourself, because they pick up on your emotions.
Absolutely.
That's what I learned that the hard way.
And I think that's why I'm such an advocate about learning about stress and learning about stress reduction techniques, because I've picked up on myself now. Like, I'm really aware. Like, I'm like, no, the way that I'm talking to them right now, or the way that I'm trying to handle the situation is not right, because I'm feeling stressed.
Yeah.
My nervous system is not regulated. So how can I support them best when I'm not regulated myself?
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
that makes sense.
So yeah, I think the first thing is looking at your symptoms, whether
Yep.
that's that internal dialogue, the physical symptoms, you know, and a really good thing is like write them down. So write them down, put it visual, put a post-it on the fridge, something so that you know, because you want to start making yourself more aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like anything, the more you practice it, the more it becomes habitual.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it becomes that really like, it becomes more conscious, I guess. You bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
So you've identified the symptoms. The next thing is, okay, let's have a look at your triggers. So what are some of your triggers? So what are the things that are actually triggering you to go into that stress response, in that fight or flight
When
mode?
they don't listen.
That's right. That's right. Is it the kids? Is it running late? Like, are you someone that's frequently running late to work? Do you know? Is it, maybe it's seeing your in-laws, you know? Like, is it like that, you know, you just got that gurgly stomach, you don't feel good every time you go over there, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, just
Not
giving
blaming the in-laws.
No,
here,
not
we're
blaming
just
the
saying-
in-laws there. But, you know, there's so many different things that
Yeah.
could be causing. So start actually listing down what are your triggers, you know? And once you've listed them down, look at them. Are they avoidable? Are they unavoidable? Can you actually, because that's when you can actually start reducing some of them. Some of them are unavoidable. I can't avoid my kids having arguments with each other. That's just the nature of siblings, you know?
Yeah.
But I can avoid being late to work. I can get up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I can try a different route to work. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to be successful, but I can somewhat avoid that stress of being late to work just if I leave, 20 minutes earlier or, go a different route or something like that,
Yeah.
I guess with the in-laws, it's putting up some boundaries for yourself, protecting your own energy and your own peace. So there are some cases where the stress is avoidable.
Yeah.
There are lots of cases where it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
But that's when we look at the stress tools, like the stress management tools. So once you've identified your symptoms, you've identified your triggers, then we look at, okay, I can avoid these ones. This is what I'm going to do. So you've come up with your strategies. These is my unavoidable pile. Okay, so what can I do when I'm in the moment and these things happen, these triggers? Because they're setting the symptoms off and I know that I'm in the stress response. I'm in that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
So that's when we start to look at the different techniques. Now, before I jump into that, I just want to chat a little bit about when you're in this stress response and why it is so prevalent that we better manage our stress and I guess get back to that homeostasis is because prolonged stress is not healthy.
Yeah.
And there are so many people nowadays that are in this stress response for lengthy periods of time and they might not even be aware of it. And some of the symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system, so like some of the physical signs are like you've got tension, muscle tension, okay? You've got digestive issues, you've got sleep disturbances, you've got weight gain or weight loss, you've got headaches. So this is some of these indicators. So if you're really confused at the moment, you're listening and you're like, well, I actually don't know. Like, how do I know that I'm in this like prolonged stress? These are some of the things. It may not just be stress. There might be other underlying issues, but stress can definitely impact those physically. So if you're someone that's frequently getting headaches or you're doing, rapid weight gain, rapid weight loss, frequent muscle tension, there might be prolonged stress.
And we know 100% for women, there are so many women in their 20s that are not having periods.
Yep.
And a lot of it is to do with stress because I've talked about it on here before too. They're not listening to their progesterone. Progesterone doesn't like stress. It wants you to chill out. It wants you to calm down. Yeah. So it'll prioritize the cortisol production over progesterone. So many women aren't having their periods, and we know how good that is for you to detox and everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's so true. Like stress is such a huge epidemic like for our health at the moment. I feel like
Yeah, and just. I guess like knowing some of these indicators, like knowing what could be, could be. Some of the emotional signs that you're in like this prolonged stress response could be rapid mood swings, or you're having frequent anxiety, depression, irritability, you're very irritable. Again, there could be some other underlying issues, but
that's with everything. There's always could be something else.
That's exactly right. But maybe if you've noticed that this is you and you're seeing that and you've noticed that a little bit more, maybe we need to look at, okay, how can I better manage my stress? Let's start there. Yeah. And then if that's still not working, maybe I need to do some further investigation.
Yeah. And if you can do it yourself in some ways, like how empowering, like more empowered to you. So instead of going straight to the doctor, like first let's start working. How stressed are you? Like do those techniques, the activity that you kind of said, figuring out what you can control and what you can't
control. That's exactly right. And like Dr. Joe Dispenza said, looking at physical, the chemical and the emotional side. And then, some of the cognitive signs, it could be that you're consistently, fearful, you've got a lot of worries, poor memory, difficulty concentrating or focusing. So they could be underlying issues that you're in this prolonged stress or you've got this dysregulated nervous system. And I really want people to take this more seriously, that stress, like if you are in this prolonged stress, it can actually cause significant damage to your body. It can cause severe illnesses.
Yeah.
I actually listed down some here, some of the things that are have just been caused by stress.
Yeah.
Anxiety disorders, autoimmune diseases,
Yeah.
decrease in immunity, which we know,
Yeah.
depression, diabetes, high blood pressure, insomnia, obesity, PTSD, skin irritations. So even like if you're breaking out in rashes and things like that, and substance abuse, you know? So there are so many things that can happen if you are in this prolonged stressed response. And I think that, you know, sometimes we downplay it and like, oh, it's just, you know, I'm stressed, you know?
Yes. And I also think sometimes, well, for me, and I'm sure there'd be other people that out there that resonate with it, whereas it's like, it's looked at as if you're stressed and you're still coping, it means you're a busy, successful woman. You know what I mean? Like, I would be working really hard, but I'd be stressed. I'd be like, I've got so much on my plate. And they're like, oh, wow, she must be doing well. She's got all this going on and she's still handling it fine. And look at her health. Look, she looks amazing. But really, it's all internal. And you're like,
right.
But it's kind of like we build it up. Like, yeah, the more stress you have, the more busy you are, the more successful you are.
Yeah, I know. It's really bizarre. I was actually thinking that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's this sort of, like, I don't know, it's like this sort of stereotype, I guess, that, you know, in order to be successful, you need to work yourself hard into the ground. And yes, you're going to be super stressed, but that's not always the case. And nor should it be. You should be able, like, success can look differently to everyone. It could be financially, it could be just this abundance of, you know, your family and the success you've got within your family. But I think that linking that to stress and pushing yourself physically, mentally, emotionally is not a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. And people need to take that more seriously. And we only got one life. We actually don't know how long we're here for. So you need to enjoy it and you need to better manage your stress and not be rewarding people or rewarding yourself for pushing yourself and feeling
Beyond
stress.
your limit. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because that's not healthy at all.
That's so true. Yeah.
And it will build up over time.
Yeah.
You know? So I think now is the point where you really need to start not brushing it under the carpet, being more consciously aware of it and addressing it as best you can. Again, there is so much out of our control. That's normal. That's part of human life. But what you can control and what you can better manage. And just before I jump into the techniques, I will touch on how I was saying about there are forms of like positive stress as well.
Yeah, right.
Because it is healthy for us to go into that fight or flight mode. That is healthy for us. Reason being, one, it develops our resilience, problem solving skills. It's good for memory boosting. So it's okay in small doses, you know. It is healthy for us to go into that fight or flight mode, but no, we should not be in there for a prolonged period of time. We want to get back to that homeostasis. And you'll notice that you'll go into that sometimes and you'll feel good. And that might be because you're going for a job interview, you know, and you're excited about that, or you're about to go on a roller coaster. You know what I mean? So sometimes, and that's what I mean, there's that positive, or you're at a surprise party and the person's about to come in. So there are forms of positive stress. You know?
Even like exercising, even
right.
fasting.
Exactly.
Even fasting brings on stress. Yeah.
So there are forms of positive stress, and it is healthy to go into fight or flight mode to build those problem solving and resilience and memory boosting. But it's about not being in there for a prolonged period of time. So let's talk about how we could get out of it.
Okay. I love that.
So techniques. First of all, we want to have that safety within our body. So we want to know that we're safe within ourselves. And I know at our retreat, I chat a little bit about like self-containment exercises. So one of the things that you can do is when you are feeling like you're in that fight or flight, you're in that stress response, some of the things that and these are somatic exercises where you're physically touching your body. So you might actually have like one hand on your chest, one hand on your abdomen, your belly, and be taking some nice deep breaths. So it's a form of grounding, but it's also a form of reconnecting with yourself and just feeling that safety within your body. Another really good containment exercise is actually like getting the two palms of your hands and putting them on either side of your cheeks.
Oh, really?
And like putting the pressure on, well, not pushing, but you know, firm enough that you feel, and just taking some deep breaths. And it's like that you're sort of boxing in your head. So it's like that feeling. It's like that feeling of like when you feel like things are out of your control and you're feeling stressed. It's like that form of like, okay, I'm here, I'm in the present moment, I'm grounded, it's okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you just do that and you can like do the breathing.
Take some deep breaths. So I like that one because it feels like it just sort of brings me down, you know, when you sometimes can go into that stress response and things.
It kind of makes you focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you want to switch on that prefrontal cortex again so that you can make those logical decisions.
Right.
Another one that's really good is putting one palm on like your forehead. So you actually put one palm and then the other palm with the other hand on the back of your head.
Oh, it's kind of similar.
It's a similar one. So that's another.
It's kind of like it forces you to focus again.
It forces you, and it sort of brings things in. Like it's that safety that it's okay. You're here. This is your body. You're here on this earth. You're okay. You know. Let's find a way to move forward. Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry. So a couple of self-containment exercises are really good. You really want to find that safety within your body. It goes back to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you know much about Abraham.
No, I haven't.
So they're like your basic needs in order for you to move towards like self-actualization, where you're like on your purpose and you're fulfilling what you need to do. And in order to get to self-actualization, you need to make sure that your basic needs are being met. So like the first ones are the physiological ones. So they're like, you know, your food, your water, your breathing, all the things that keep you alive. Mm-hmm. After that, you go into your safety and security. So they're like your shelter, you know, your things, you know, your clothing, you know, to protect you, to keep you healthy. So like your safety and security, have those needs met. Then after that, you go into your love and belonging. So that's like, you know, your relationships, your friendships, that feeling of love and self-esteem. Then it moves up to your self-esteem needs. So it's about, I guess, again, going back to that safety.
Are you meeting just your basic needs?
That's
or
it.
Are you meeting,
that's it. Yeah. And again, like having those needs met is obviously going to help that stress reduction too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sort of touches on that safety within your body, you know, and really just moving beyond those basic needs onto, you know, your love and your self-esteem, you know, moving on to where you need to be. A couple of other exercises that I love is like reclaiming your body. So when you are starting to feel stressed and you'll feel like everything's out of control, you've got no control over the situation, some techniques to get back into reclaiming your body and that safety within your body is like swinging. So like just swinging from side to side or swaying.
Yeah.
So doing some like little gentle rocks. Rocking, so even like I was reading about it, you know, like when you rock a baby, like rocking a baby, that soothes them. It brings them down, you know, calms them down, often will get them to sleep. So even just little gentle rocking from side to side or forward and back.
Yeah, it does feel nice straight away.
It does. A couple of other techniques is like just balancing. So just balancing on one foot, you know, that's it. So just connecting back there. And doing some like somatic stretches, which I love to do with my Pilates. So like, you know, child's pose where you're sort of reaching forward.
I love that one. That's my favorite. I don't do it. I don't do Pilates or yoga a lot, but
so good.
Love doing child's
pose. And if whoever's listening, happy baby is another one.
Oh,
you're on your back.
You
grab your legs. It's such a good one.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
But these are really good ones to reclaim your body, to really just get back into that present moment, you know, when things feeling are out of control. And I guess body scans, which I always do with meditation. So just laying down and actually scanning your body. Where are you feeling the tension or worries, you know, things like that. And just breathing love and light and energy into those spaces as well.
Yeah. So meditation's probably a good one too, obviously.
Yes. Well, I've got a couple that I was going to share for adults and kids quickly. I know So,
do it.
Yeah, well, obviously because I am a teacher as well, so I do, you know, looking, and I've got two toddlers.
Two twins. You got the twins.
Twin toddlers. Yes. So a couple of ones that I would say for adults, meditation, definitely. So meditating, even if it feels really out of this world for you, just start with even 30 seconds to a minute of just quiet. Just
sitting there and focusing on your breath.
That's it, focusing on your breath. And I think there's like this connotation that, if thoughts come in, I'm doing it wrong. It's okay if thoughts come in, but just sort of like letting them just pass without judgment, without thinking deeply into them.
Yeah, and even straight away without getting mad at yourself that you can't do it.
Yes.
Like you haven't given yourself a chance yet.
No.
Just sit there and listen to them.
That's exactly right. A couple of the other ones, like guided visualization. So if you're not one to just sit there, so even going on Spotify, finding, a guided visualization to take you through, just to help relax that nervous system.
I love using Insight Timer. That's a good app if anyone. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think, do they come with the iPhone? I don't know. Mine was already on my iPhone I don't remember downloading it.
I love that.
Yeah.
No,
it's called Insight Timer. And you can pay for it, but they have heaps of free ones. I use the free one. It's fine.
Yeah, I just use ones on Spotify.
Yeah,
There's
they have heaps
ones.
of ones on there.
So good. Journaling. And you know that you
Yeah.
and I absolutely love journaling.
Journaling,
And
yeah.
there's been so many things going on in my mind last night, and even last night I literally wrote 4 or 5 pages. I slept so well.
That is a good session.
I slept so well because I have been having like these just not as good sleep like lately, and obviously the kids have been waking up too, but it was just really good just to get it all out.
Yeah. That's the thing. Sometimes it's like when you talk to someone, you just need to talk to someone to get it all out. But if you don't have that person, journaling's it's like the next best thing. Just write it all out.
Absolutely. So some of the other ones like breath work, breath work. So it can just be as basic as the diaphragmatic breathing. You can go into box breathing. There's so many different forms of breath work.
Yes.
Grounding, so just going out, standing in the grass, or if you need the beach on the sand, just grounding yourself. Again, just taking some slow, deep breaths. So I use a lot of these as preventative measures. So I try and
try to do them regularly.
That's it. This has become habitual for me. And I think I just want to break that stereotype of consistency, meaning every day, because it doesn't.
Yes.
Consistency for one person might be, okay, I'm going to do this once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
It could be 3 or 4 times. It could be every day. So I'm not hard on myself if I miss a day. I didn't have the opportunity to meditate this morning, but I did some Pilates instead.
When I first started all this, I got very OCD about it and was I have to meditate, journal, read, exercise. I had to do it all every single morning, every single day.
No.
And I think I just created more stress in my body.
Exactly, that's right, because you've put yourself in this, I have to do it all.
Yeah.
And that's actually, and then you're really just diminishing what you were,
exactly,
the whole intention.
Yeah.
So, just be strategic about that. Some of the other ones mindful, colouring and painting, just really getting into that, embodying that feminine energy.
Yeah.
So that creativity, dancing, so even the ecstatic dancing, putting on music and just dancing.
Yeah.
And just somatic movements and stretches. I love EFT, so emotional freedom technique, the tapping, the meridians in your body and saying affirmations. Mm-hmm. So these are really good tools for adults, and these are great as preventative. They can be after if you're feeling stressed, Yeah. Sometimes in the moment you're I've got kids to deal with. I can't just pull out the journal. So that's when I go back to those self-containment exercises.
Yeah.
Or
the
breath
quick
work.
ones that you can just do. Yeah.
So that's when I'll go back to self-containment or taking, doing some breath work or going to get a drink, or moving my body, just a quick little shimmy shake dance. Those things that I can do in the moment, whereas these are ones that I'll use either before or after.
Yeah.
And then with children, so at the moment, because I've got one of my lovely twins going through dealing with his emotions, I guess, trying to better understand his emotions. So for him, we've actually created a little cool down corner.
Yeah.
And we've used visuals. So I guess with kids, depending on the age, so with younger kids, it's great having some visuals, but don't overdo the visuals either, because it will just sort of undermine what you're trying to, if there's too much there, then they just won't take it in.
Okay, yeah.
So we've created a little cool down corner. There's a little coloured mat there, and we've got little breathwork posters. So there's a flower, and he sort of traces the flower with his finger.
That's cool.
There's a cloud, there's a rainbow. So all things that he knows, and we've explicitly taught him, and I guess my daughter as well, she's quite good at it. But when he is feeling like he's got big emotions and going into that sort of stress response in that fight or flight mode, he knows that that's a safe place that he can go to.
Yeah.
Tracing those breathwork posters. Another really good visual is an emotional thermometer. So it's it's like a thermometer, but it's got up the top is you're burning fever red.
Yeah.
And, it's I guess getting them to understand, okay, well, how can I bring down my temperature? How can I bring down, what can I do? And that's when you go through the strategies. So it could be using the breathwork posters. It could be, let's put on some music and listen to music. It could be, hey, let's have a drink of water, or let's go for a little walk, or something like that. But using that visual to talk through where are you on the thermometer and where do we want to be.
I love these. I need to do this for my son.
Yeah.
I need to get these techniques.
Yeah. Some of the other things that I use as well, like my son, he's really sensory. So we use like little sensory toys, like a little calm down jar, with the glitter and water. Or like a little squishy ball, things like that. So that, if he's having those heightened emotions, just to help with the regulation, he's got those that he can hold on to, at that time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need to do that.
Some other children, I know one of my girlfriends, her daughter really responds well to like the weight bearing, like the weighted cushions and pillows.
There's
and
the weighted blankets and stuff too. Yeah.
It goes back to that proprioceptive stimulation. So I always say that word wrong, but it's like that pressure receptors. So it goes back to like having that pressure on you to help bring you down.
Is it kind of like the same as this?
Yeah, it's kind of like the self-containment. Yeah. But I guess for kids, because so having like a weighted blanket or a pillow or an animal, like a toy or something, can help as well. When they're in that fight or flight mode, just to get them back down to that homeostasis. I love using yoga. I use Cosmic Kids on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Kids love that.
I'm gonna try that.
So Cosmic Kids is a great one.
I didn't even think of that, like the yoga for kids.
And they've got like Batman and and then like princesses, and they've got all different like
my kids would love that. I'll do
that. And like even if it's like only 5 to 10 minutes, it's just good for them to like have that movement within their body.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, like music, singing, shaking, dancing, just put on a song, get them to dance, play a bit of a game, musical statues, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we know that movement significantly helps reduce stress.
It's so true. Yeah.
So I guess they're sort of like the adult and children's ones. And I guess as an adult, I'll just sort of finish off by saying like some of the best things you can do is just looking at your lifestyle as a whole. And we always say that, it's not just one thing.
Yeah.
So like look at your sleeping patterns. So if you take anything away from this, go and do a little bit of a reflection, whether you journal it or just say it aloud or talk to someone about it. Look at your sleeping patterns. Can they be affecting stress? Look at what foods you're eating. Are you eating rich, wholesome, fresh foods? As often as you can. Are you drinking filtered water? Looking at the water that you're drinking, because, that could be causing stress on your body. And what other substances are you drinking and how often? Look at your movement and your exercise regime. How often are you moving your body or exercising?
It's so true. It's all of these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just one thing.
No. And then I guess the mindful practices, have you at least got one mindful practice that you can say that you do regularly? Remember, you don't need to be doing all these things. It could be, I just meditate, or I just journal, or I just do a bit of breath work, or I do a little bit of, somatic movement and yoga.
Yeah.
But have you got something that really looks after that mindfulness? And reducing that stress.
Something for every aspect of your health,
Absolutely, because it's always that holistic lens. It's the puzzle. And getting those. And I think, those people are thriving. Like we are thriving because we are really looking at from a whole big picture and not just focusing on one particular area.
And I think one of the key things that you said there, like a lot of it is getting better to know yourself. So really just what I'm a huge advocate for is tracking everything.
Yeah,
tracking it all, because the more you track, the more you understand yourself, and you're like, I was feeling that at that time. Okay, that makes sense. Like everything.
Yeah.
And then the stress it gets easier to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having just some tools and practicing them regularly so that they become
I'm going to be doing this one a lot more.
Yes, the self-containment ones.
Everyone will know when I have my hands up against my head, it's because I'm stressed.
Taking the deep breath, diaphragmatic breathing. But so I hope...
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Like it was just jam-packed with so much information about stress. And I think it's just so good because that's what 99% of everyone that I know is dealing with. It's stress.
Yeah.
They're all trying to cope with stress. And even someone who's like, no, I'm not stressed, but I keep trying to lose weight and it's not working. It's like, well, you're stressed.
Yeah.
Because that is stressful. but we're all just used to having stress.
Yeah.
We're all used to watching TV and that causing stress, and we don't even realize it anymore.
No. And like you said, like even like when you're scrolling on Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok and
it's causing stress, and you just don't even realize anymore because it's just become a natural human thing for us all right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like how much times have changed.
I
But yeah, thank you so much.
That's
Gabi.
okay.
Loved
Thank
having you on.
you.
I'll definitely have you on again because there's more we need to talk about.
No,
But
thank you so much.
yeah, it was such a good episode.
I know.
And
I loved
if
it.
anyone wants to reach out to Gabi, you're more than welcome. I'll have all her details in the show notes. And yeah, I was like thinking, what else did I want to put in the show notes? There was something else that you mentioned there. I'll put a couple of the tools. I'll have a talk to Gabi, and I'll put
Yeah.
some tools in there too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyway.
Look after yourselves.
Yes, I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Bye, guys.